Hello, everyone. This is Michael Keeter with Influential Dental Podcast and my amazing co-host, Julianne O'Connor. Good morning, Julianne.
Good morning. I noticed you're kind of already stuttering this morning. Have you had your coffee?
I've only had one cup of coffee, and I have my Influential Dental mug full of water, though.
Man, mine's not here with me today. I'm sorry. Next time we'll get you one too, Scott. But go ahead.
Yeah, I'd
Sorry.
love one.
Yeah, super excited to be here today with you guys. We've been recording some of the most incredible people lately, and I'm thrilled to have Scott Ryan on with us today. And we'll jump in and do. I'll have Mike give a little introduction in a moment. But wow, I'm still stunned by our recording yesterday as well, Mike. Just so you know, with some of the very incredible people that we've had on our show. So I hope that everybody is getting a kick out of some of these guests, but today I'm sure is going to be no different.
Yeah, and I'm very fortunate we are in the audiences to have Scott Ryan on this podcast. A great friend, mentor. I work with him for him. He has an incredible story, and look forward to having you hear this, Julianne, as well as everyone else. So again, Scott, I really do appreciate coming on, and um, I would rather have you kind of maybe give a brief introduction of yourself, kind of what you're doing now, and then we can kind of dive in. But again, it is a treat to have you on, Scott. And again, as a personal friend and mentor, this means a little bit extra for me to have you on. So again, thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be on. Just quick high level overview of myself. First, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a grandfather. Those are to me the most important things that come first. Been in the corporate world for 24 and a half years, except for the past month. I've gone out and started a business called LeadFit, which is helping, nutshell, real quick, we can talk more about it as we go, but really helping leaders be fit to lead.
I love that. Okay, so you're going to laugh. Okay, so, Mike's in my company is called Influential Dental. And for those of you who have listened to the podcast but didn't know, we also had a company called Influential Dental, now you know. And so our podcast is actually in collaboration with the American Dental Institute. But our company is a personal professional development company for dental professionals. And first and foremost, and one area where we actually have been kidding around that we need to level up is in the fitness world.
Interesting.
So I can't wait to talk to you because I think you go into that realm, but I'm not 100% sure. I notice you have this massive following. I've noticed that you have this incredible brand, and I can't wait to get to know you because you're not you're a friend of mine now. Any friend of Michael's is a friend of mine. But
Likewise. So we're not friends, yes.
yeah, but I can't wait to get to know you today. So
Yeah, absolutely.
tell us a little bit about this company, and I'm curious, like, how does that, because you're basically helping high performers drop into their fitness, their wellness, et cetera, right?
Absolutely. So I've always seen fitness as a way to build discipline. The core of everything we do is built around discipline. And if you can learn to be disciplined in one aspect of your life, it bleeds into everything else. So for me, originally, when I got deep into fitness, I did it for selfish reasons, right? It was very much about, I wanted to look good, I wanted to feel good. But then what I realized was, A, I was doing too much. In the beginning, I was burning myself out and I would get hurt all the time. And I started to deep dive into how to be really efficient and effective in the way that I exercise. And then I realized I stopped doing it for me. I was doing it for first my family. I wanted to be around for my family, be able to play with my kids and now my grandkids. And I developed a system, which is part of the LeadFit system, which really helps leaders, for a lack of a better term, work out more efficiently and effectively. But it's a holistic system. It's not just about going to the gym, right? It's what we do to keep ourselves fit, and we can dive into the details of LeadFit, but what we do to keep ourselves fit so we can best lead those that are in our charge, right? Best lead those from a family perspective. To me, that's so important, but also those that we work with. How do we help them? Leadership is not about, there's two types of leadership. It's me leadership or we leadership. In the beginning, it was me. I wanted to be a leader because I wanted the title. Then I realized that's not what it's about. It's the we leadership. It's about the team.
So Scott, you nailed two things that are especially, huge issues in the dental profession specifically, which is this idea of burnout and also injury or chronic fatigue and chronic injury, right? Like, or chronic triggered, I don't even know how you'd call that, but you know what I'm saying? Where it's like this repetition stuff that they're doing that leads to pain, and then they end up on meds and all these different things that are happening. So curiosity, are you mainly in the dental space, or do you branch out everywhere? What's that look like?
Good. It's interesting. The mix, I've got a very interesting mix. It doesn't seem to the ordinary person, it doesn't make sense. But because of my background where I've been, so there's really three groups of individuals, and two of them are very closely tied. So executives in the corporate world, right? Because I've lived in that world. And I see that as directors and above, but you don't have to be a director. That's just kind of the benchmark for now. Entrepreneurs, which bleeds into the dental community, right? Because while I've been in the corporate world, I've been in dentistry my entire career, been in the practices and all those things that you're talking about. I've seen it. So my goal is to try to help those three groups. But my biggest network and the people that I'm connected most with are in dental for sure.
Yeah, and same with me. And obviously, I've known Scott for, gosh, almost my entirety of my dental career at Noble Biocare in various positions. And I'm sure we'll get into some of those stories. But before we do, no, I agree with that assessment. And I guess, sign me and Julianne up for what you got going on, because she's right. I do think a good physical and mental presence is going to help you in everything you do, from a leadership perspective, from an influence perspective, from getting along with your co-workers, and to lead more efficiently and effectively. So I think there's some plenty of collaboration moving forward with what we're doing, and obviously with what you're doing. Julian, do you have any more questions about LeadFit? I do as well, but I really want to get into Scott's personal story, because that's really what I think what people need to hear, and it is very intriguing and amazing, because Scott does lead and manage from a very high level, but it's about the type of person he is. And we talk about that all the time, Julian, on why we got into to work together, why we formed this company. And I think Scott and I, for a lot of the similar reasons in our experiences. But I guess, Scott, let's talk about that a little bit more, and we'll go back to kind of LeadFit in the body, but obviously the mind's very important as well. And then
Absolutely.
how you conduct yourselves in those settings, right? So I guess talk to us and the audience, and Julianne and I, a little bit more about kind of the mental thing, and you can rewind it back to some of your personal experiences with the different companies you work for in dental, but how does that work as well? Just kind of the network, the people you surround yourself with, being above certain things, and kind of leading that way.
So I'll start with mindset first and then go into the second part. So in 2009, it was with Nobel. I was it was in a regional sales meeting in Austin. There were two regions together, and Forrest Cottrell was leading this meeting. And I've got to give him credit for this, because this changed the way I look at mindset and having a positive mindset, and why that's important as a leader yourself, but also to help others have a positive mindset. So he asked somebody in the room to stand in front of the room, put their arms out, and he would try to push their arms down. Well, I got voted to be the guy to go to the front of the room.
I've done this, by the way, and
Yeah, it's amazing. I put my arms out, and I'm thinking, he can't push my arms down. He couldn't. And I'm thinking, I'm so strong. Well, then he told me something. He said, think of something negative. I want you to think of something maybe even horrible, which is, part of the exercise. He said, you walk into your home and something terrible has happened to your family. So I'm thinking about it over and over in my mind. And he said, put your arms out. And I'm thinking about it. I couldn't resist. He pushed my arms down like nothing. And from that moment, I always thought about mindset being so important, but when I experienced that was a game changer for me. That flipped the switch and made me realize that your mind and your body are so connected. When you have a negative mindset, it impacts your entire being. So for me, that was key. Go on.
So really quickly, just to chime in on that, for those of you who've never done this exercise, it's powerful. And then what happens is you can do the alternate, right? Which is then you fill your mind with something that's very powerful and positive, or love, just the concept of love.
Yes.
And thinking about somebody you love, and literally they cannot push your arms down. So that's what makes that exercise so powerful, is you get to experience both sides of that.
Absolutely.
And it's incredible.
Yeah. And to add to it, he had mentioned that, so he was a football coach at one point, and he would do that to guys Mike's size, and Mike's a big guy, so he'd have to stand on the ladder though to push their arms down. So it's a very, very powerful exercise. And then the other part, ties back to what I said earlier, is there's me leadership, and then there's we leadership. I'm a firm believer that leadership is, it's rooted in humility. It's rooted in being selfless. And we've heard this. This is not my idea, but being selfless is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less.
And it's really funny piggybacking this conversation on a couple of episodes that we just recorded with two executives who were talking about all of the selfish sides of why we do things. But it is still true that with leadership, it's really pouring into and lifting others up around you. So I love that.
Absolutely.
But continue. Yeah, this is so fascinating. I'm really curious. I didn't know you worked for Nobel, by the way. How did I not know that? What was your role at Nobel?
So I started as a sales rep. Then I left the company, came back. When I came back, I moved into a role. That's actually where I work with Mike. We were running an initiative on new customer acquisitions, and Mike was part of that team and built something absolutely amazing. Mike was a rock star. Yeah, I mean, that's where I got to know Mike, and we have some good stories from that time.
Yeah. So I don't mean to derail the conversation. I was just kind of curious because now fast forward to here you are, you're sort of this figurehead, right? Around this whole fitness movement or whatever. And you talk about we leadership and it's all really tied to leadership and this executive level, high performance type of, alignment, if you will, right? Which has several elements to it. It's not just fitness. We're talking about many different things, and mindset is so key, right? So, first of all, have you trademarked we leadership? I'm curious.
I have not trademarked that. Now, I put
Okay,
a video up on LinkedIn, so I used it about a month and a half, 2 months ago.
Okay, you got to get on that. I have a great trademark attorney. But anyway, so I'll share this info. And then, so tell me how this sort of ties together. So you have this basically, when I look at your LinkedIn right away, my immediate reaction is, oh my gosh, it's going to be boot camp with this guy. And so fast forward, you had this revelation, right? Of this mindset being such a huge element of how our lives, our strength comes from that, right? And then how did you jump ship and end up where you're at, where you created this incredible company and this incredible opportunity for yourself and for everybody that you get to touch?
Yeah, so this has been a passion project for a long time behind the scenes. I've been trying to figure out what I did with it. Really, I was putting insights onto LinkedIn just to help others based on what I had learned. Long story short, the job went away about a month ago. And I jumped in full head of steam and decided this is what I am going to do. Like, this is my passion.
So 1 month ago, you decided this?
1 month ago, I decided to make this my living. It's been my passion. I've been putting it out there. I've got people that I work with locally that I've done this with, but making this my livelihood and my living about a month ago is when I went live and said, this is what I'm going to do. And the greatest thing in the world is my wife is 100% behind me, supports me. And people ask me what my backup plan is. So there's no backup plan. This.
Congrats. I just want to congratulate you. So this is inspiring because you wouldn't look online and know that you completely made that transition a month ago, because obviously you've been churning this around for a period, right? And you've obviously been pouring into people, something that Mike and I both did with our careers for so many years, never asking for anything in return. You've just been sharing the tips and the insights, right? And so you've just made this leap and you're not giving yourself a backup plan. And I'm curious. So, people come to me all the time with these like fears, right? It's just the fear piece. And this is such an interesting, incredible topic, I think. How did you step through that fear? You had to have had fear, right? About letting go of the revenue stream that is a sure thing, the benefits, all that junk we tell ourselves, right? And you don't even know what's going to happen. So
No
what
idea.
gave you the ability to do that? And do you feel liberated?
It's amazing. The feeling is unreal. I feel great about it's amazing. I absolutely love it. Yeah, I finally feel like I am free to make so look, whether I succeed or don't succeed, that's 100% on me. Now, there's a faith component for me, and if you want to touch that, we can. I'm deeply rooted in faith, so I feel like I've got that on my side as well. But win or lose, I'm not dependent on anybody else. I can't point fingers at anybody else. It all sits right here.
Yep. And to reiterate about that, I mean, Scott has always been that type of person, right? In confidence to work with. We've had some challenging conversations when I needed to level up and step my game up, but the way he did it and the way we constructed it, I was like, yeah, you're right. And again, it is about me changing a few things and owning it and then doing it. And so I do appreciate that. And obviously he talks the talk and walks the walk, right? He's done that as a leader, a mentor, coach. and manager in the corporate world where I met Scott. And then we gravitated towards each other because a lot of our philosophies are spot on, right? Just how you treat people, how you act, how you be. We're genuine, authentic, all of that. But I smile only because Scott's exactly right, right? I mean, he deserves it for all his hard work and what he's doing, and people need to hear it. I mean, you look again, not only the number of followers, but again, everyone knows Scott Ryan as well in the dental space. I mean, he has an amazing background. We share a lot of those common friends, but the fact is, I know, Scott, you're going to succeed regardless. I mean, it's happening. You inspire me, mentor me, and kind of my journey and what I'm figuring some stuff out. So thank you on that. And I do, and we'll get into more of the personal things, Julieanne, because it's at his core, right? His belief system, who he is as a person, how he treats everyone. And that's amazing. And we talked about this because how he treats someone that's a janitor versus, CEO of a company is the same, right? I mean, you are who you are. So I just want to throw that out, Scott, that I look forward to your great success because I know it'll happen.
Appreciate that.
Because you've been successful everywhere else and you lead from the heart and strength. So Julieanne, do you have anything to share?
So I love it. I'm kind of curious. Okay, so we could go really surface or we could deep dive, and we can't help ourselves. We always have to deep dive. Okay, so
Let's do it.
So my curiosity is, like we all grow up with these different childhood traumas, whether it's a dang movie that we watched and it traumatized us at a developmental age where it affected us, or it's legit trauma, right? And so one of the things is you see people sort of at their pinnacle of success and
Yes.
you don't know what they've overcome. All we do is we look at people and we say, I don't know how they do it. I can't touch that. Maybe I'm inspired. Maybe I'm sort of intimidated. Could be a tremendous amount of different, things that come up for us when we see people who are like, oh, I'm so awesome at this thing. But tell us a little bit about your background. Like what led you to where you are and who you are today, and why are you so kind to people? Why do you think that everybody is created equally and has all this potential?
Oh, that's a great question. We can go deep, deep, deep there. So honestly, so when I was younger, and I actually put up a post about this probably about a month ago, and I was hesitant to share, but I think it's really your point about you never see where people came from. It's really important to see the journey. So when I was younger, I was 7 years old. Even before then, I kept telling my parents I couldn't see out of one of my eyes. And the doctor kept saying, he's just a kid. He's just saying that. Well, when I was 7, they finally realized I had amblyopia or lazy eye. So I had 2200 vision in this eye. So I was legally blind in this eye. So the treatment is to put a patch on the good eye, which is this one, big thick glasses, and train the bad eye. Well, by the time you're 7, it's technically too late to rewire because the brain's smart. The brain is an amazing organism. It learned by the time I was 7 to turn this eye off for detail and use it just for peripheral vision, and this eye for detail. Otherwise, I would see super blurry and I wouldn't be able to walk around with bumping into things. So the brain adapted. Well, it's hard to make it go back the other way. So I wore the thick glasses, and then at an early age, way too early, they started me off in orthodontic treatment. So it's funny, the dental connection here. And I had a palatal
Okay.
expander for a really long time. So I had big, thick glasses, patch on one eye, and then you talk like this. So I was going through speech therapy. I didn't want to speak in front of anybody. This is 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. I didn't want to speak in front of anybody. So when it came time in class to raise your hand for a question, I didn't want to do that. But you get called on, and you're ashamed of the way you look and the way you speak. That deep down lasted a really long time for me. There are many worse scars in life, but to me, that was a difficult one for me to overcome. Just speaking in front of people was one of my biggest fears because of that. The way I looked, I was made fun of, and I sounded very strange, right? So I was going through speech therapy and learning how to talk to the appliance. Like I said, 5 years of orthodontic treatment because I kept outgrowing the treatment. It just started me too early. It just is what it is. But so getting past that, and then in 7th grade we moved to Illinois and I actually started working out. And nobody in Illinois knew that other version of me. Not that I was trying to hide it. I didn't know any difference. I started working out and getting stronger and working out, and people started to notice. And I started playing football and sports, but I was still afraid to raise my hand and speak. Even believe it or not, even today, there are times where I have to step back and build the courage and the mindset to speak because of that time in my life.
Hey,
Just
really
go.
quickly, this is where I see a collaboration already. We're going to do a little trade. I'm going to help you with childhood trauma, and you're going to help me with fitness.
There you go.
Michael, I'm going to do a little navigating the finances here and just be like, hey, I got something for you. You got something for me. Let's do it.
I love it.
Go on, though. This is an incredible story.
And there's a picture of me on LinkedIn. It's like I said about a month ago, with me with my glasses and my patch, sitting with my family, and my one of my cousins who's just about a year younger than me. He's giving me a funny look. You can see he's like looking at me like, because I have glasses and a patch on. But anyway, okay, so fitness became part of my life, and I really started to feel better about myself. So the mindset and the mind and the body work so closely together, right? And that's kind of where LeadFit was born. Was as I would move up in organizations, I would make sure I was training, not because I wanted to look good at that point, because I realized it made me feel better. When I felt better, I was more confident and I could help people better. Because when you don't feel good, it's really hard to be clear and to be present and have presence. And we can look at presence in two different ways: presence in your physical presence, or in the way that you show up and being present. At home, it has to do with, you can be present in front of your kids with your phone on, but you're not truly present, right? You're physically there, but you're not present with them. Same thing at work. You can be in the room, but if you're so focused on yourself and not feeling well and just back to me leadership, if you're so focused on yourself, you have no time, or you're not giving the
quick tip on that. Or quick question on what is a tip for changing that? So, one of the things that's always really nice is you hear people are doing it, but you don't know how the heck they do it, right? So how do you get present? Like you personally, or how do you train people to get present and consistently do so to where it becomes a habit?
Yeah, so that's a really good point. So it's part of what I do at LeadFit. So there's a number of pillars inside LeadFit. And obviously I didn't make up habit stacking, but part of what we do from a fitness perspective is small incremental habits stacked over time. Because this was me at one point as well, is if you start something new, you want to go all in, right? You want to give it your best. The problem is you burn out. Talk about burnout in dental. If you do too much all at once, you're going to burn out. So it's how do you introduce the right steps, the right stages at the right time, very strategically, so you can stack the right habits and get better and better. Because a lot of habits or virtues, they're tied together. So you learn to do one really well, the next one becomes a little bit, they're connected, helps you to do a little bit better, a little bit better. To me, it's habit stacking with the right things at the right time.
That it's funny, and I'll let you jump in, Michael, because I know you got some other questions. But yesterday, I actually was with my own coach. So, I private coach high achievers, and then I, of course, have my own coaches as well. And my coach, I was talking to him about leveling up the playing field with money. Like you look at how many millions go through your fingers in a lifetime, and how you have so many opportunities to change the game in that realm. And so I'm working with all these multi millionaires who are giving me tips on, these high level ways of playing the money game. So with my coach yesterday, we were chatting about my own self beat up around some of these principles, right? And one of the things he brought up was this idea around creating this sort of holistic structure and understanding that you don't have to have the specifics all at once. And he used this example of fitness. Like if you're going to go and you tell yourself you've never worked out before, but you're going to do 5 days a week, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. He's like, you're going to burn out overnight. But same with money, same with anything that we're trying to do. It's like you create this structure and then you start to build in the specifics, one detail at a time. Do one thing today, one thing tomorrow, et cetera, et cetera. The other place where I see habit stacking being so beneficial is the when. So, it's like, what habits do you already have, right? So does this come from Atomic Habits? Is that where this comes
it does,
from?
Yeah.
So for those of you who haven't read or heard Atomic Habits, check it out and you'll understand where this principle or this idea comes from. But one of my favorite habits that I love to habit stack on is brushing your teeth, right? Because we all know not all, but I know what's the statistic that more people own a cell phone than a toothbrush? Have you guys heard that?
I have not. That's scary.
Yeah,
Yeah,
legit statistics. So anyway, if you know you're going to brush your teeth and you want to build a new habit, right? What is something you can do right after you brush your teeth? Because you're never going to forget to brush your teeth, as an example, right? Let's say you want to do meditation. You're going to be like, okay, I'm going to brush my teeth and I'm going to meditate for whatever, 20 seconds, and you start small, right? And then with 20 seconds, you do a minute, and so on and so forth. So I love all of these principles. How do you apply this also to mindset? And then Michael, I know you've got different questions completely from my own, but I'm like trying to eat up all of the juicy stuff on how to do this and apply it.
Please do. Yeah, please do.
So how do you merge the two around mindset and fitness specifically, because fitness is my Achilles tendon, right?
Yeah. So they're very connected. So a couple things. Anytime I work with anybody, it's understanding the why, or maybe the I hate to use the word problem, but the problem we're trying to solve, right? So where are they today and where do you want to go? And I think the issue that we all have is we focus on this big gap between where we're at and where we want to go, and it's overwhelming, right? So figuring out if there are mindset issues, so this takes a conversation, right? So it's really digging into the why and what some of the issues are and what are the biggest problems we have to attack first. And then I build a strategic plan for people. And it's one thing at a time. So I'll give you an example. I've got a good friend who owns a business locally, and I'm training him locally in the gym right now. And he never gets up super early. And now we're meeting at the gym early in the morning. And I was just telling him yesterday, I said, the discipline that you're building by just getting up to go in the gym will bleed into everything else you do. And we're just working out now. He's like, well, what else are we going to do? We need nutrition. That's absolutely. But we're going to start with one thing first. And that's exercise. And then when we're ready and we'll figure out when that is, we'll add the next and we'll add the next. And mindset is part of that equation. What you do from a discipline perspective is already going to help your mindset. But there's specific things that we will do from a mindset perspective, but that comes secondary, but you're already building those habits early on, one at a time. That's stacking them. Yep.
Nice. Let's talk about, influence this year. Title of our podcast, Influential Down, our company. And I do think influence is a big part, right? You could have positive influence, you could have negative influence. It all ties to mindset and health and well-being. How or who has been influential in your life, Scott, and why? And again, this could be early on, it could be current, it could be, maybe who you want to meet. But then also, what are your thoughts on influence in general, and how in your personal or your professional life, your thoughts around influence and how you influence people?
That's a really good question. If we go back to the beginning, for me, the most influential person early on for me was my dad. My dad was my first mentor. He was a phenomenal leader himself. He was in the dental space for a really long time.
And I know his father, and I agree with that as well. And actually, he ran Noble Biocare for a brief time when I was there, and other major dental companies. And his father is a very influential person in the dental space.
And he started in the 80s with Nobel Pharma before it was even Nobel Biocare. So when the Brandenmark system first came to the U.S., my dad was the U.S. president there. He ran Straumann for a number of years, built Straumann from very small to the early 90s all the way to 2004. But anyway, he always treated people kindly. He cared about the people on his team. And even as a kid, I would drive in the car as he would call people. So here he was, the president, and he would just reach out to sales reps and managers just to understand how things were going because he cared. When you care about people, like people won't do anything from a leadership or influence perspective. People won't do anything beyond what they have to if they don't think you care. When they know that you truly care about them as human beings, and there's actually a lot of studies on this. I was listening to a podcast with a business school professor. Actually, he was the dean of the school, and he was talking about the studies that are tied to the way that you treat people in an organization. So leaders that treat people with respect, get to know their team members, those organizations over time do way better. And those that don't do as well. There's this correlation for sure, but it's interesting how many organizations don't actually follow that principle. So anyway, going back to my dad, that was deeply rooted from him inside of me, the way that he treated people. It ties back to my story too. The way that I was treated negatively as a kid, I realized I never wanted to treat anybody negatively ever. intentionally, right? Sometimes we mistakenly happens, but like intentionally, you never want to treat anybody bad. You always want to lift people up. To me, that's the core of influence. Is if once people know that you actually care about them, that's the start. That's the start and the root of leadership for me.
Love what you're saying. It triggers a little story of something that happened with my daughter, my oldest daughter. We had moved some friends into our house once, and they, we just let them live there for free because their house was, I don't know, under construction or something. Anyway, and they lived with us, and their kids were terrible to my daughter at the time. And I didn't want to at the time discipline their children because they weren't my children and they were in my home, and I didn't want to, tell them, hey, you need to be kinder, right? Like I didn't feel like that was my place. And so I sat there and I was like trying to figure out, how do I help my daughter through this time where she's being kind of bullied, right? Like, how do I explain to her, why this is happening or whatever? So I remember at the time, the only thing I could come up with was, hey, you know what it feels like. So now pay it forward on the opposite side and know how to treat people. So to this day, fast forward, she's 15 now. She was, I think, 6 or something at the time when this was happening. And she is one of the kindest people to small children. And all children, but especially small children. I constantly have parents come up to me going, your daughter is the nicest human to our children, blah, blah, and it's just constant. Everywhere I go, people are talking about how and here's the thing about it is like, it's so constant that what you see is she doesn't just do what she thinks is right. She goes above, like she gives the edge to that. And it's like, I start to look around at the world and how we could take this status quo approach to even kindness, right? I'm generally a nice person. But what happens when you edge it up? Like, what happens when you give that little added piece and you build the habit of really just doing a little more than what is necessary in every area of your life? It changes the game. Like completely changes the game. So I love everything you're sharing. And let me ask you, so your dad was your mentor. Was your mother in the picture as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, she was. Absolutely. Yeah. So from a business perspective, my dad was my mentor, but I also learned a ton from my mom. So my dad traveled a lot, right? He traveled a ton. And my mom was there from a faith perspective. She's the one who really rooted me in the faith. And I'm a firm believer in faith, and she was super strong and influential there for me.
Okay, so you mentioned faith a couple times, and Mike, you and I have lots of conversations about faith and spirituality and all the different philosophies people have and all of this. So tell us a little bit, because I think, everything, even with mindset, even with faith, is a choice, right? At the end of the day, we get
Absolutely.
to decide, what do we want to lean into? What do we really want to take hold of and believe? Sometimes we grow up, it's being indoctrinated on us, to believe in a certain thing. But at the end of the day, as human beings, the one thing we have ultimate power over is our choice to lean in and believe those things that are most beneficial, and maybe tap into some higher vibrational energy with that. So what does that look like for you? Are you open to sharing that? Because it's different for everybody. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just curious, and maybe somebody can relate and it can inspire people.
Yeah, so I grew up Catholic, very deeply rooted in that, but there were times I didn't really know why I was doing what I was doing. My mom had some influence in helping me better understand. Through college, being away, I still attended mass and went to church. Didn't really know why, but I was drawn to it. I feel like I was supposed to do that. Met my wife, and she was Catholic as well, so we kept that constant. I went on a retreat in 2010, which really changed my perspective on everything. And it was not so much about faith for me, which is important. Yes, you have to have faith for yourself, but like how I gave back and served through my faith. So when I came off this retreat, I wanted to get involved in every ministry I could to help others. It wasn't about just me and my relationship with God. It was, how do I help others? And long story short, I won't go through all the details. In 2000, so I moved to California in 2017, moved back in 2018, and in 2019, January of 2019, I started formation to become a deacon, and I just got ordained last February. And it's about service. The word diakonia means service and serving for the sake of others.
Congratulations on
Thank you.
that. So very cool. Mike, I know you grew up Catholic as well, I believe. And
Yes.
we have lots of conversations about these different areas of how we take the viewpoint off of ourselves. Mike and I talk about this all the time, And rather than it's just about us leveling up our own influence and careers and stuff, it's always about how does that affect the broader, spectrum of people, and how does that affect our community, our society, and the world as a whole. And the ripple effect from that, changing from that focus on self to the focus on the greater whole.
There's an interesting quote from St. John Paul II, or Pope St. John Paul II, is it's how the family goes, so goes the nation, so goes the whole world. So if we can help serve and get the family right, it helps the greater community, it helps the nation, and it'll eventually help the entire world. The point is, you can't go out and solve all the world problems by yourself. And a lot of times we think that if we want to serve, we have to go to foreign countries to serve and do big and grand things. But the reality is, we can do it right in our backyard.
No, I agree with that, Scott, and congratulations on you becoming a
Thank you.
deacon. Obviously, that's an amazing thing you're doing for yourself and your community and others. And Scott, as a person, again, before all this happened, obviously I've known Scott, the person, the man, again, the mentor, the friend, the philosopher. But also, I want you to share about your family, because Scott's been very open on social media, on LinkedIn, on others, conversations about his son, Nate. Julieanne, you may not know about Nate. Share a little bit about your family and your wife and Nate, and because obviously he's an inspiration himself, but obviously I know you've shared your journey and relationship with him, and I know since we're coming off you talking about something personal, obviously, as you become a deacon, please share a little bit about Nate and his story.
It's interesting. It's interesting, Mike. I appreciate you asking that question. Going back to, I'm gonna tie my journey to Nate, which is really interesting. Is in 7th grade when I started working out, and then 8th grade, I just got really strong for some reason because I worked out, and I felt like I had to be the defender to those who couldn't defend themselves. So in the school that I was in, they were very cruel to the special needs kids. And I always stepped in and stopped it because I couldn't take that, right? Like people who couldn't defend themselves, I wanted to stand up for them. And in many situations, I feel like that's what I was called to do. You fast forward. So when I got married, my wife had 2 kids that were 9 and 10 at the time. So I became a stepdad, which awesome experience. They're awesome kids. They're amazing. And then you fast forward a little bit, we were thinking about, do we have a child? What do we do? Long story short, we made the decision we were going to adopt, because there are plenty of children in the world who don't have a home. And we looked at different countries. We ended up going to Guatemala. And throughout the process, we kept getting these pictures of a little boy who just looked malnourished. And he was. So by the time all we thought to ourselves, we just have to get him to the U.S. to get him some nourishment. Long story short, we got him back to the U.S. We saw an international adoption specialist at Texas Children's who kept telling us he's fine, don't worry. He wouldn't eat, but don't worry, he's fine. Fast forward 4 months, we end up in the hospital at Texas Children's, and he was diagnosed with a condition called Williams syndrome, which is a rare genetic disorder. So it's the deletion of chromosomes in the 7th, or the deletion of genes in the 7th chromosome. So heart defect, a special elven look. So even though he's 18 now, he's got the mental capacity of a 7-year-old. So there's developmental delays and organ issues we have to watch out for. But that's not what we signed up for. I'm just going to be blunt and honest. When we did the adoption process, we put healthy child. It's an option to adopt a child with special needs. That wasn't what we signed up for. But that was absolutely the plan, the divine plan, I guess, that he came to us. And if he didn't come to us, he probably would not have survived. Because another family...
I have to just chime in. So there's so many things here. I'm going to not cry on the show today, okay? But
I probably will, so it's okay.
So I have 2 adopted children.
Okay, that's beautiful.
And so much history with other children as well. And I know exactly what you're talking about. And when you say you didn't sign up for this, you mean literally on paper.
On paper,
which is
yes.
so interesting.
Literally on paper, yes.
Yeah, so we were sort of in the same boat, but I have story after story of things that happen, like, getting a call one night and they're like, there's this little baby boy, he was born, he's got a heart condition, 50-50 chance of living. And we're like, no, there's no way we're going to take a child who could die tomorrow. And then we're like, sleep on it, wake up the next morning. And my husband and I are like, do you think anyone took that baby out of the NICU?
Yeah.
And we're like, let's just call and see, and then we call and they're like, no, nobody's taken him. And we're like, oh my gosh, are you kidding? Well, we'll just go meet him. We're just going to meet him, and the next thing, fast forward to you have this baby in your home that could die. And we had a little baby boy. This is a legit thing. heart problem, 50-50 chance, heart meds. And then every day we laid hands on him and just said, you're whole, you're perfect, you're strong, you're powerful, you're healed.
Beautiful.
And by the time we returned him to his mother, he was completely healed, and they weaned him off the heart meds. There was no sign of a heart condition. So
wow,
the
that's amazing.
power of faith is so incredible, and pouring into somebody. And it's really interesting. I was talking with a client the other day, and she said, one of the most powerful things that she ever heard was, she said to somebody one day, she said, it's a phase of my life where I just need to be here for my child. And she's a special needs child. And she says, and that person looked at her and said, no, they're there for you. She said, she was just like, my word. And she said, it just shifted everything. We're all here for each other, right? Even this conversation, which, I didn't know you, I wasn't familiar with you. And Michael just kept going, we got to get Scott on the show. We got to get Scott on the show. And you know how Michael is, I'm like, I know, but we've got over 100. And this is not a joke. We have over 100 people waiting to record with us right now. And they're, extremely influential. And so are you. And I see why now. And so he kept persisting, get him to the front of the line. Yeah. So I'm super happy that we have you here today with us. There's so many things that resonate around what you're sharing, right? And everything sort of bottom lines back to this idea of, it's not about us being selfish, right? It's about looking at what's going on, and we get something amazing out of how we pour into others. And the most influential leaders are very influential, typically, not all, okay, but they're typically gaining influence based on how much they lift others up, right?
Yeah.
So, talking about all of this, and then going back to, I look at just even the faith conversation, you look at people like Denzel Washington as an example, or, just some of these incredible, even, iconic actors. I realize my fan is on. I apologize. I'm turning that off. And they all kind of boil things down to faith being an aspect of how they created their success, their ultimate success. And I believe there's a definite correlation with faith that goes with humility. And can you talk a little bit about that, and how those two things go hand in hand, and why is that's so critical, and how that can become something we think about?
Yeah. So you mentioned something earlier about love, and a lot of times people think of love as an emotion or a feeling, right? But to me, the definition of love is to will the good of another. That's not my definition, but it's the definition that I really like. I think came from Thomas Aquinas. But to will the good of another, and that goes back to what we talked about earlier, being humble, but also selfless, right? You're not thinking about yourself. You're thinking about. I sound like a broken record, but really, love is to will the good of another. Like, I love my wife because I want good for her, not for selfish reasons. I love my son Nate. Truly will his. We built a house we moved into 2 years ago because he's going to live with us forever. He's got his own section of the house because every house that we had lived in previously didn't fit him. We literally bought a property and built a house for him. Mike, when we worked together in the NCDS team, there's a moment where you came into my office one time and talked about, and if you want, I'll let you explain.
No, please go. No,
Well,
please go.
we were talking about the quota that you were given.
Right.
It was a big number. We were all given a really big number, and yours was particularly large. And you came into my office, and if I'm saying this wrong, please stop me. But what you were saying was my quota was developed wrong. It's too big. There's no way that I'm going to hit it. Right? No way that I'm going to hit it. Now here's Mike, this big guy. Now, he wasn't mad, but I could tell he was a little concerned and nervous. I love Mike. He's awesome. I care so much about Mike. I could have said, tough, that's your quota. Get out of my office and go hit it. But
Yeah,
right?
we sat down and literally just talked about it. We sectioned it off and said, what do you need to do? And you made it
And I
real
didn't
to
tell
me.
you
And
what
it's
to do, right? They're like, I
no,
said, okay, here's what we have to close. Here's the time we have. Let's map out a plan, right? Let's map out a plan. But I was basically guiding you through it, and you were coming up with the plan. But because I cared about you, right? It wasn't about me at all. Like, we all had big numbers. Like I said, I could have very much said, go hit your number, Mike. I know you're good at what you do. But we talked through it. could truly care about. I spent the time because I care about. I really do care about you.
No, thanks, Scott. And I agree. And that's how our relationship was formed even before that, because again, I saw them. We have another, some other funny stories. You see so many managers and companies do the opposite, right? That just say, go hit the number. Not only do they not give the love, but they don't even give the guidance or even like they really care. It's just so sterile, so corporate, as it were, right?
And what
But
happened? What happened too?
we crushed the numbers.
You crushed it. You crushed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. No, exactly. Because it was the approach. And I did know you care. And that's the thing, because, and I could see that with our whole team. I mean, we had a rock star team and we
Absolutely.
grew million. I mean, it was amazing. That was, up until now, the single most pivotal point in my career is working together in that team and how we bonded and how we enjoyed each other and how we pulled for each other and how we cared for each other. And we had tough goals and numbers and we had tough conversations. But at the end of the day, we knew you had my back, I had your back, I had Andy's and the whole team, and we were there moving forward. So,
For people who don't know Michael Keeter, like if you looked at his, like I don't think you show anyone your resume ever, but if you look at his resume, he's crushed like every sales award that there possibly could have ever been. If like Michael Keeter will never ever be without work, okay, for the world out there. He'll be at the top of the list of if anyone could hire this guy, they're going to hire him because he is so good at business development. And that is because he cares. It's because he has built such phenomenal relationships. And I think people take that for granted a lot. And which is unfortunate, but I recognized it always from the day I met him. He's recognized it in me to some degree, I think. And so I'm so grateful to have him part of my team. And I love, Scott, that you look at things the same and that you kind of come to the table with this. There's so much. We have about, just to give you guys an idea, we have another maybe, 8-9 minutes that we can go here if we want to keep our shows under an hour. But where else can we go with this today? Because I just think this is such a beautiful conversation. And Scott, I'm sure there are some things that you maybe came to the show expecting to either share or something.
So before I get there, I just want to connect back to that story we just told, because there was a mindset breakthrough. I don't know, it connects back to it. There was a mindset breakthrough that day because Mike came in, and Mike's never negative, but the number, I'm just telling you, we had big numbers. It was, in the back of my mind, I was thinking this is going to be tough, but when he made that mindset shift, nothing, and that's, you talked about his resume, he's always successful, but when he makes that mindset shift, and Mike's one of the most positive guys I know, you can't stop him. And it goes back to what we talked about earlier. Mindset is so important. The number would have crushed anybody else, absolutely crushed. But Mike, you were unstoppable. You're a force. So
no, I appreciate it, Scott. And
appreciate
again, that's a shared thing. Because again, if I had a different type of manager, or you had said go pound sand and get out of my office, I don't necessarily know if that mindset would have overcome that. So again, I do think you need others around you, and we can talk about team and building and what we do with our company. I know you do with you, and why we surround ourselves with like-minded people is everyone can succeed, right? Everyone can ascend to do great things if you surround yourself with those type of people. And again, same with the opposite. If you don't have that mindset, you're around negative people, negative things, like I used to tell my kids as well, right? You hang around those type of people, you're going to be those people. And so I appreciate you.
So what do you guys tell what do you say to a leader who their first instinct is to tell you, hey, you got to hit these numbers and, and really got to prove yourself, because that has an effect on people. And it's not what the effect that they think they're having. It triggers fear. And so what do you say to a leader who approaches somebody with this attitude of, hey, you know what, you got to prove yourself. You got to go make these numbers, or you got to change everything to adapt to my ways, even though you may have had your own gift in how you did things prior to coming together with this leader.
It's a good leader is a good coach. In that moment, we had a coaching moment. And either a dictator, you tell people what to do, or you hired those people for a reason. They're good at what they do. So how do you help them, guide them to do what they're good at, right? It's just like playing the game of, or playing golf. I'm a terrible golfer, right?
Same.
But you can look at somebody's swing, and a really good golf coach will make minor adjustments. These literally like 2-degree adjustment could have a huge impact on your game. And that's what was needed in that moment with Mike. And that's what other leaders should think about is you hired that person for a reason. They're good at what they do. just help make those minor adjustments to get them, because Mike made the plan himself. I just guided him. And when you make the plan yourself, you buy into it, right? When you tell people what they have to do, there's resistance. It's like having a child, right? When you tell your kid you need to do X, Y, and Z, they're not going to listen to you. They resist. So it's your approach and how you come about it. It's a good leader versus a manager. A manager can manage time and tasks and tell you what to do. A good leader will coach you through it.
I love that. So you would say that's trainable, right? You can train a leader to be better at
Yeah,
coaching.
really good point. Really good point. A lot of organizations, what they do is they'll promote somebody who's really good at their job, put them into a leadership role, and they don't train them how to be a good coach or leader. So
Yeah.
it's the company failing that individual, not necessarily the individual failing themselves, because the company's responsibility is you put somebody in that role, you train them and you coach them how to be a good leader. It helps everybody.
Yeah. I have one other question on this topic, and it could relate to every area of our lives. But what do you say to people who are experiencing issues around jealousy?
That's a really good, give me an example. Give me an example. That's a really good question. That can go in many different ways.
So let's take a leader of a company, maybe an owner of an organization, and they are trying to crush their competition constantly.
Mhm.
And what it does is it manifests this very negative mindset where they're like, well, why is it that, that company did this and we need to do that? And they constantly miss,
Yeah.
their own gifts because they're so caught up in the competition, if you will.
Yeah, there's a couple ways to look at that. One, there's a great video that Simon Sinek put out about forget the competition and focus on, and talk about Apple versus some of the other big organizations.
Yeah.
Apple doesn't care what anybody else is doing. They're so focused on just doing their own thing and innovating their own way, where others are looking at Apple and trying to beat Apple or other companies, right? That's number one. Like, the video is absolutely amazing. So his answer will be better than any answer I could possibly give. But I mean, it goes back to I think humility, right? Is focus on yourself and your team and what you guys are trying to achieve, and stop trying to focus on the noise. And it's just noise, right? That's the reason I don't have a backup plan, by the way. If I'm doing what I'm doing with LeadFit and I've got something else off to my purview off to the side, I'm distracted. Same thing. When you're focusing on the competition, you're distracted. Focus on your customer.
Yeah,
Focus on your customer.
absolutely. I love that. I love that. So, Michael, anything else that we need to bring to light about this guy, Scott Ryan, you brought on our show today?
Well,
That
no, we could
before we
have
let
another.
him go, we might have to have
Yeah,
you on another episode, by the
no,
way.
I would
we
love
do.
I'd
that.
be
He's
down
a
to do that.
classically trained at Berkeley School of Music guitar player, and he has a guitar collection, and he's an amazing, amazing musician. So that's a whole other thing we need to talk about.
There on the wall that you just showed us, like, that's too far. Come on. Isn't it good? Aren't there some really good habits around, like, who's the guy that like lays down in Starbucks or whatever just to break through, fears? And Mike and I talk a lot about yes and, like,
Yes, and yeah, I love that. That philosophy is huge. Yes, and absolutely.
Yeah. So you agree with that?
But my tease is, if you want me back, I'll do it when you come back.
Oh, so now to the listeners, we're going to do a poll. Did he say yes and, or did he tease us for the next one? I'm going to let you off the hook today because
Thank
Mike
you.
told you at the beginning of the show that you could choose out. And so, which is and my dear friend Steve Sperry, he's a coach, and he always tells people when we go to train them, if you want to choose out, that's always a choice. So we'll bring you back on
Yeah,
for sure.
we'll definitely bring him back because obviously we got to share, what we're going to be working on in the future as well. But yeah, no, Scott, you're an amazing individual in person, and what you see is what you get. I highly recommend, obviously, you follow Scott on LinkedIn and others, and follow him at leadfitcoaching.com. I look forward to seeing you succeed wildly, Scott, and hopefully we can be a part of it. And I know we'll always continue to be friends. And thank you for being an inspiration and mentor and coach and friend to me and many others as well. How people can find you, see you, or anything you would like to share?
Yeah, first, thank you guys for having me on. This was an absolute blast. Mike, you're a rock star. Julieanne, I'm so glad I got to finally talk to you. This was so much fun. I said something earlier about LeadFit that I want to kind of change a little bit. Talked about it being all about me. The success is all on me. Sounds a little, talk about humility. It didn't sound like it was a very humble statement, but really at the end of the day, there's two things: passion and purpose, right? I am passionate about fitness and helping others. And I feel like that's my purpose, right? So I built this not because I want this fitness empire, but because I truly want to help leaders get past some of the hurdles that I struggled with. Really want to help dental professionals, those who are struggling with whatever it is, mindset, clarity, confidence. That's where I can help. So if you do go to my LinkedIn page at the very top, there's a book a call or book an appointment button. Hit that. I'd love to talk to anybody for 30 minutes about, and there's no sales pitch, by the way. It's a fitness audit. We'll go through what's working, what's not working. I'll put together a very high level plan for you. If it makes sense, you want to work together, great. If not, more power to you.
I'm going to book that. So just for the record, so if you go to Scott M. Ryan, so Scott M as in, what's your middle name?
Matthew.
Scott M. Ryan on LinkedIn is where you can find him. And then I wanted to also just let you know that Mike and I are going to be co-hosting ADI 2025 this year, which is the American Dental Institute's 2-day lineup event. If you are open to it, that is happening, oh my gosh, December, the beginning of December in Orlando. And it's at a hotel. It's an amazing event. They bring in live music and they have just an incredible time. You'll get to meet everybody who's on stage. It's a fabulous time. If you can make it out to ADI 2025, and people can get tickets at ADI, but it's incredible. We have like Dr. Hogan is speaking this year,
awesome.
and Dr. Athena is coming back, and just this incredible lineup of phenomenal speakers. And so you can see that speaker lineup at ADI2025.com. But they are our co-collaborators on this podcast. I'm super grateful. I always love to give a shout out to them. You can get incredible training. We're also doing an elite team course that's coming up in September. So if dental professionals out there want to come and learn some of the skills that we've been talking about today, please come to that 2-day event. It's all about mindset. It's all about every area of the practice and how they all come together. And Scott, you're always invited to anything like that Mike and I do to come in as a guest. So
You're
just
awesome.
so you know, we would give you some time and you can work with everybody there. So if that's something of interest. So that's it for me. And thank you so much to our listeners for always tuning in, for supporting us. We have some incredible episodes coming out. I just can't even tell you the lineup of speakers that we have, but they're from multi-billionaires to just some incredible people with insights that are going to change the game for a lot of people. So thank you so much to everybody. And Michael, thank you for a great show. As always, you're an amazing co-host and I just appreciate you.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Julieanne.